Welcome to my channel Brainies. In today's video, I'm going to deliver the content on the topic the anatomy of the spinal cord. The basic anatomy of the spinal cord. It is a long cylindrical structure which runs from the first cervical vertebra to the L1, first lumbar vertebra. So it extends from the brainstem throughout the vertebral column, and it is protected by the vertebra and the layers of tissue called meninges. There are three meninges. They are dura mater, arachnoid mater, and pia mater. It consists of 31 pairs of spinal nerves, dividing the entire spinal column into cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, and coccyx. Internally, it consists of a center butterfly-shaped region of gray matter, which is surrounded by white matter. The external anatomy of the spinal cord is, as I said, it begins from C1, that is at the base of the skull, that is at the junction of the foramen magnum. It runs down the vertebral column till the level of the L1. The spinal cord is surrounded by three meningeal membranes, which are the dura mater, arachnoid mater, and pia mater, which is depicted in the picture. It consists of cerebrospinal fluid, which protects it and cushions it. Just below the spinal cord, the tip of the spinal cord is called as conus medullaris, which is a bundle of nerve roots which is extending from the vertebral column. The cauda equina is an important structure. It's a bundle of spinal nerves which arises from the end of the spinal cord, as I said. So since it appears in the form of the horse tail, in Latin it means horse tail, so hence it has been termed as cauda equina. So when these nerves are compressed, it causes a rare and severe medical condition which is called as cauda equina syndrome, which requires immediate medical attention. So the curves of the spinal cord. So it's a sagittal plane curves. In cervical, it is lordosis. It is approximately 20 to 40 degree of lordosis. We call it a cervical lordosis. In thoracic, it is kyphosis, 20 to 40 degree of thoracic kyphosis. In lumbar, it is lordosis, 30 to 50 degrees of lumbar lordosis. And in sacrum, it is again kyphosis. So these are the normal spinal curves. So totally the spinal cord has been divided into 5 regions. It is cervical 8 pairs, which controls the neck, upper chest and arms. Thoracic, it has 12 pairs, which controls the upper back and the chest. The lumbar 5 pairs, which controls the lower back and the legs. The sacrum 5 pairs, it controls the thighs, lower legs and the genital and anal areas. Coccygeal, it is 1 pair, which controls the tailbone region. The nerves, totally there are 31 pairs of spinal nerves which exit the vertebral column through the intervertebral foramina. So these 31 pairs of spinal nerves, it is a part of the peripheral nervous system, and each spinal nerve, it has been formed by the union of the anterior root, which is a motor root, and the posterior root, which is the sensory root. These posterior root has a swelling which is called as the dorsal root ganglion, which contains the cell bodies of the sensory nerves. I'll show you the picture in the next page. So these mixed nerves exit the vertebral column through the intervertebral foramina, which is placed between each of the vertebra through the openings, and then it comes out to innervates the specific regions of the body known as the dermatomes and maritomes. So this is a cross-sectional view of the spinal cord, the internal anatomy of the spinal cord. So it reveals its core function. So primarily it has been divided into the central butterfly shaped. We say it either as a butterfly shaped or otherwise the H-shaped gray matter. So it's an inner gray matter and the outer white matter. This arrangement facilitates the transmission of the sensory and motor signals between the brain and the body. So this consists of the gray matter, anterior horns, which is called as the ventral horns, and posterior horns, which is called as the dorsal horns, and lateral horns, which has been placed in the lateral aspect, and the central canal, which has been situated in the central gray matter. Let me show it to you in the picture which has been depicted. So this is the gray matter, this is a white matter, this is the ventral root, this is the dorsal root. So ventral horn and dorsal horn, and laterally it is here, this is the dorsal root ganglion. So each of the spinal nerve is being formed by this ventral root and the dorsal root, which is united to form each spinal nerve, and there's a pair of spinal nerves on either side. So the central gray matter, it contains the neuronal cell bodies, dendrites, and the unmyelinated axons. So it plays a crucial role in relaying, that is, hence it is called as a relay center. It is organized into ons, that is a posterior or the dorsal ons. They are the backward projections of the gray matter. They primarily receive the incoming, the sensory information, that is the sensory signals, especially like pain, temperature, touch, etc. The anterior ons or the ventral ons, which are the forward projections, contains the cell bodies like larger motor neurons, and they exit the spinal cord via the ventral roots, and it supplies the skeletal muscles for production of the voluntary movements. The lateral horns are found mainly in the thoracic and upper lumbar regions. These projections contains autonomic neurons, which plays a crucial role in regulating the visceral functions like heart rate, organ activity, etc. The central canal, which is small, and it is a cerebrospinal fluid filled channel running through the center of the gray commissure, that is in the center, that is in between the H shape, two sides of the H. So coming back to the white matter, this is a white matter. So it is surrounded by the gray matter, the H-shaped gray matter. This is a white matter. So it consists of two tracks. One is the ascending tracks and another one is the descending tracks. The ascending tracks carries the sensory information from the brain. The descending tracks, it carries the motor commands from the brain down to the body. And the funiculus is the white matter has been divided into three. One is the anterior funiculus, posterior funiculus, and the lateral funiculus. So the arterial supply of the spinal cord, so totally it has been divided into the longitudinal arteries and the segmental components. The longitudinal arteries are single anterior spinal artery, which arises here. It runs through the anterior median fissure and supplies the anterior 2/3 of the spinal cord. And the posterior spinal arteries, these are paired arteries. They arise from the posterior inferior cerebellar arteries and they run along the posterolateral sulci on either side and supplies the posterior 1/3 of the spinal cord. Then the next is the segmental reinforcement. Actually, the blood flow from the superiorly originating arteries, it will not be that much insufficient to supply the entire length of the spinal cord. In that case, the majority of the supply below the cervical region, it comes from the feeder vessels, that is the segmental arteries. So the first one is the radicular and segmental medullary arteries. These vessels, it arises from the major regional arteries like vertebral arteries, ascending cervical, intercostal, lumbar, and lateral sacral arteries. Then the next one is the artery of Adam-Key-Wisk, which is the Arteria radicularis magna. This is the largest anterior segmental medullary artery, and it is crucial for the blood supply of the lower 2/3 of the spinal cord, that is the lower thoracic level, lumbar level, and the sacral segments. So it usually originates from the left side of the aorta between the vertebral levels of T8 and L2 in most of the people. So that's it with my video. Thank you for watching. Kindly support by subscribing and sharing. Meet you all in next video. Thank you once again.